the NHL and NBA playoffs in full swing. The NIL and all the transfer portal is blowing up the college football landscape. Steve Helwick joins us in studio and much, much more. This is the Want to Know Sports Show. Texas finally 1-0, finally riding for the brand, although Tom Herman did say they were 1-0 10 times last season.
Feinbaum, I'll give him like half a point.
Dude, you like Feinbaum way too much.
Yeah, all right. I'm like I'm the Feinbaum of this show.
By the way, that looks Ohio State. Is that an omen? Give me that Longhorn hat.
Oh man!
Hook him, baby.
All right, he's pulling the torso. Welcome in on this Friday afternoon in Austin, Texas. I'm Robert Trevino, joined by our host Thomas Fitch. Thomas, thanks for coming back, man. It's awesome to have you once again in the studio, the creator of the show, to finally be back. How do you feel?
It's crazy to be back. So much fun being back in a place. So many memories here in this studio, at this desk with you. So glad to be back.
Yeah, a Longhorn legend. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in, as we always do, with who's hot and who's not. So Thomas, who's hot?
Who's hot? Love this segment. Glad to be back talking who's hot, who's not. And my who's hot, the Real Madrid soccer team. This team, talk about the comeback season that these guys have been having. You look at in the Champions League what they have done. In the round of 16, they trailed after the first round to PSG. In the round of 8, they trailed in the last 45 minutes. And then on Tuesday, they were down 2 goals. In the 90th minute, they scored twice in a minute and a half to send it to penalty kicks, or not to penalty kicks, to extra time, where Benzema put the goal, and Real gets the win over Man City and goes to the Champions League finals. Yeah, and I got to admit here, I didn't see it because I walked away with 2 minutes left. I was like, well, great match over here, down 2 goals with just 2 minutes to go, and that was insane. What an insane finish. Well, I'll be honest, I'm a big Real Madrid fan, and when it was about the 80th minute and they were down 1-0 and down 5-3 aggregate, I was like, that's it. And I had to go back to work, so I turned it off, and I pull into the office, and I check my phone, and I see Rodrigo scored in the 90th minute. And I was like, great. Yeah. So I turn it on, and I see them celebrating. I'm like, must be the first goal. And then I checked the scoreboard, and it was tied. So just absolutely crazy finish there. Yeah, pandemonium stuff. All right, I'll get into my who's hot with Sergio Garcia. So Sergio, we're getting into the golf world, kind of coming in on the Phil Mickelson side of things, saying that he, quote, can't wait to leave the PGA Tour. I mean, personally, the whole, LIV league that it's personally called, it reminds me of the Super Bowl we were saying before, but I mean, I don't know about trying to replace the PGA Tour. I think when Phil Mickelson was trying to do it, we definitely saw the tour defend itself, and I personally don't see a way that you kind of work your way in and take down the PGA Tour. Maybe you can eat a little bit into it with some side events. We've seen that with like the match with Capital One, but I don't know as far as like replacing it as like a premier league, especially when you do have developmental leagues in the PGA Tour. So as far as Sergio Garcia goes, I mean, this is just something that we're going to see with frustrated players. Once Phil kind of stepped in there and took that role, I know a lot of players are going to follow suit. So, I mean, I don't know. Garcia's still going to come back and play because the big money's at the tour. Right, and I think Rory McIlroy compared this new tour to what European soccer tried to do with that Super League, where it was all about money, and at the end of the day, it fell through. And I think the PGA Tour has been so established. I think Sergio Garcia saying that, it's like someone who's like a senior in high school, and their parents say something they don't like, they're like, I can't wait to go to college. It's like, he's not actually going to go. There's just so much history and just money, right? Behind the PGA Tour, guys aren't going to leave. Yeah, they're not going to go. All right, Thomas, who's not hot? Who's not for me? I mean, this one, pretty easy. The Texas baseball bullpen. You look at, first of all, first 2 games against Oklahoma State. First one close, second one not so much. But then you go into the Sunday match. You're just trying to not get swept. You jump out to a big lead, and then all of a sudden in the 7th, giving up 10 runs. 10 runs. You're up 7-0. I mean, that is maybe one of the biggest bullpen collapses of all time. And I saw online, I mean, somebody was saying that for David Pierce, trying to decide if your struggling starting pitcher is better than, breaking into the bullpen. I mean, it's a complete crapshoot because one game the bullpen comes in and they look like these top-rated recruits that they were, brought in to be. And then the other half, they're giving up 10 runs in an inning. So they're going to have to figure out something. The offense is so talented, but if the bullpen's giving up 10 runs an inning, they're not going to even make it out of a regional.
Yeah, that's something we've seen from them is great performances, on the eye test, and games aren't won on that.
Yeah, he's not hot for you.
All right, for me, I'm going to go with Chris Middleton. So the Bucks and the Celtics have found themselves in a very interesting series. I really think the winner of this likely makes it to I think they win it.
Wow.
Whoever wins this series, not to get a hot take here, but so you have this critical series with everything seemingly on the line, and you don't even have a guy like Chris Middleton, who's now been ruled out for games 3 and 4, which I'm not sure where those games are going to be, but the series is split, so whoever it is that has those games is...
I believe 3 and 4 is going back to Boston.
Yeah, so Boston has the home court advantage already, and now you rule out your second best player. I mean, can Giannis carry this team? Definitely. Can he do that when we get to game 7? I don't know, because that's where a 10-point difference makes all the difference in the world.
Right, and this is a team that we've already kind of said is a two-headed monster, and obviously they've done a good job of building around those two guys. But I mean, you lose that guy against a Celtics team who's looked really good, swept the Nets, and took 1 of 2 in Milwaukee going back home. Certainly not what the Bucks were hoping to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that'll definitely affect my personal prediction on the series if he's unable to come back. I don't see them lasting that long. All right, let's get to the Twitter realm with the best thing I've seen on Twitter this week. Thomas, what was that for you?
So this is, one of the most legendary, just false tweets that's ever blown up that I've ever seen, at least in a long time. It's Will Baser on Twitter. He tweets that this is all with the whole NIL stuff, and there's rumors that Xavier Worthy's been offered all this money, and then Texas went and offered $5 million to an Oregon guy. So he said that Texas offered $3 million to Cincinnati D-end Osif Josai. Now, for the Longhorns who saw this tweet, they knew this was a joke. They knew Joseph Osai, former Longhorn D-end who's drafted, now plays for the Bengals. But no one else seemed to know. Aggies, Sooners, talk show radio, even the talk show radio in Dallas, who obviously covers Texas, fell for it. Supposedly on NBC, people were saying, what is going on? Texas is gone too far. And it was a completely made up story. But he went viral, and just the fact that so many people fell for it. And he did a great job, in the comments, whenever people would say, this is absurd, Texas has gone too far, he would, respond without giving it away. And so, so many people fell for it. Just a beautiful troll job there by Will.
Yeah, I think, and I even went to check this, his profile. It's just really set up for that type of sports reporting thing, and he really played into it. Classic. So for me, I'm going to stay in college, and I'm going to stay in the NIL discussion and bring up this tweet from Boardroom. So imagine this. Bijan Robinson now is pulling up in a Lamborghini and getting paid to do so. So if you're driving around West Campus and you see a car that, if you get the newest model, the cheapest version of the newest model, and that costs $200,000, it may be our star running back, which 2 years removed from no player being able to get paid, and that seeming like some sort of heresy to even say, to this is just insane to me. And I don't know what you even say to this, because that's, you're getting paid to ride around in a luxury car, and yet you're not a professional athlete. Really blurs the line, and we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah.
But it's kind of insane. That's the best thing I've seen on Twitter for me.
Yeah, and it's kind of ironic that we joke about the $3 million deal that didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
But you could imagine that whatever the price tag, maybe not quite $1 million, but surely lucrative, and you drive around a Lamborghini for that has to be the best, driving around West Campus. You just got to watch out for those potholes.
Yeah.
But.
Oh, yeah, for real, actually. All right. Let's get into what's trending. So starting off, Draymond Green and Dylan Brooks getting ejected back-to-back games. Draymond Green ejected in the second quarter of Game 1. They said some sort of face action going on, but mainly the pulling of the jersey. Was asked about his comments after the game, as well as kind of flipping off the fans. He said he did not regret it. And then Dylan Brooks in the next game getting ejected as well for something that Steve Kerr said he crossed the line in doing. He definitely injured. I can't see who that is right now, but he definitely was a low move. It seems so.
Oh.
So were Draymond Green and Dylan Brooks right to get ejected, or is this a situation of the NBA being too soft?
So I've watched the Draymond Green video more than I've watched the Dylan Brooks video, and both of these, like in my mind, they're both flagrant fouls. Like I don't think anybody's debating that, right? They're both hard fouls. The Dylan Brooks one, I mean, pretty aggressive. He gets, an arm to the head. Draymond Green, they said he hit, he hit the head, but it was a little close. Like you said, the bad thing with the Draymond Green was where he grabs the jersey and rips. But I've watched this video a lot, and I'm like just about as anti-Draymond Green as you can find someone. I actually don't think he should have been ejected for this because, you watch it in slow-mo, it looks so like it always looks so much worse. When you watch it in full time, it looks like he went, he ripped, he grabbed the jersey, he realizes that, and he's like immediately going to try to pick him up, which also I think makes it look worse because it looks like he's like attacking him when he's trying to hold him up. The Dylan Brooks one, it's a shot to the head. It's a chippy series. I'm more okay with that. But the Draymond Green one, I think you got to let them play through that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we were watching the Draymond one, and it definitely looked like, you couldn't see the angle on the live shot. You were blocked off. But it did not look crazy intense as far as just being a normal basketball play. And we've seen Draymond. He's a big physical guy. It's a big physical game. You see things like that happen. I think with Brooks, the intent, and I think Steve Kerr said this was like really bad. And so I think that one definitely earned an ejection. If you want to eject Draymond, regular season, totally fine with it. Playoffs, I agree with you. Just give him a flagrant one.
Here's what I will say about Draymond. He kind of brought this on himself.
That's true.
The way he plays, whether this was intentional or not, the way he plays is going to get, refs aren't going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I think that's why we saw him getting ejected, is because there have been so many plays that have been questionable, and he's really good at making those, kind of getting in there, getting in guys' heads, knowing where to be in the right place to kind of inflict some pain. And so I think at the end of the day, that's why he got ejected.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so our next what's trending, DK Metcalf tells Shannon Sharpe that he can beat Tyreek Hill in a foot race. So then Tyreek Hill slid into DK Metcalf's DMs to challenge him to a race, $50,000 for charity. Hill says DK Metcalf is scared. If this was to happen, Robert, who do you think wins?
I'm going to say DK Metcalf. It's really tough to sit here and tell you why I think one guy's faster than the other. I did not look up their 40 times. I'd say at that point, it's honestly a toss-up when you're comparing 40 times. And honestly, so it's just a straight foot race.
Yeah.
Right down, I'm assuming 40, 50 yards, something like that. I think the longer you get, the more DK has an advantage. I don't know. I couldn't blame anybody for choosing Tyreek here. I still think DK Metcalf's speed is going to overwhelm him, though.
I think Tyreek is way faster. Again, I've never seen these guys run next to each other. I don't know their 40 times, but Tyreek Hill has become the speed guy, right? DK Metcalf is known because he's quick and he's big. And I think in a 100-meter race, I think DK is going to have the edge. And I believe he ran the 100-meter at Ole Miss. I can't remember, but I think he did. Tyreek Hill, I think it's that short burst. It's those 20 to 30 yards, and that's what he's done so well of being able to get open really quick. And so I think a 40-meter race, I think Tyreek Hill wins in a landslide. 100-meter, it's DK. But I think, from what it seems like DK doesn't really want to do this race.
Yeah.
Which seems to me like he knows he probably can't win.
Yeah. That's rough. I just don't think then. Why would you even say that you could do it if you don't think that you're going to get challenged?
Just talking the talk.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then
that's
with
a bad situation.
Smart for Tyreek Hill to say it's for charity.
Yeah.
Because then if you say no, it's like, do you hate charity?
Yeah, you don't want to give $50K to charity.
Yeah.
Man, that's a good situation. Tyreek really is,
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
I just want to know if I can place a bet on that.
All right, well, that's all for A Block. When we come back, another legendary TSTV alum, joins us. Steve Helwick will be on the phone when we come back. Don't miss it. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show, and now joining us, legendary TSTV alum Steve Helwick. Steve, welcome back onto the 40 acres, even though through the phone.
I feel honored to even be on this show right now. I love what Thomas and Robert started with this show, and I only wish that I was in college when this was going on too. So I think this is just great that this even exists, and I'm glad to be back.
Well, we're so glad to have you. I think you're definitely a recurring guest at this point. And for the audience who knows you or who doesn't know you, you want to give a quick update on what you're doing now and your involvement in the sports world still?
Yes, I'm a college football writer for a few SB Nation blogs. I work on Underdog Dynasty, and I cover Rice, Houston, the AAC, and CUSA for them, and I cover the MAC for Hustle Belt. So I cover a good number of teams, so I travel around the country during the college football season and cover games at a bunch of different sites. I think I hit up 8 different stadiums last year, excluding bowl games, and this year I'm planning to start off at Rice USC Week 1,
Wow.
Penn State Week 2, which just shows some of the versatility I have in my coverage.
Steve, you're truly a legend. All the teams you cover, and if I'm correct, that's not your full-time job, right?
No, I work as an actuary full-time.
Legend. Okay, well, let's start off talking some NBA playoffs. I'm curious your biggest surprise and biggest disappointment thus far.
The biggest surprise, I would say, of the entire playoffs is how great the Boston Celtics have been. And yes, I know that they ended the regular season really hot after February, but I wasn't expecting this team to go out and just sweep the Brooklyn Nets like that. They had that Jason Tatum game winner in Game 1, which really helped carry the momentum for the rest of the season. But they just locked down Kevin Durant, and that was really impressive to see the physicality and how hard it made Durant to find a shot. And you're seeing that carry into round 2 with Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is the best player on the planet, I think. And Giannis has missed 15 or more shots in back-to-back games, something that's never happened in his playoff career. And you saw how great the Celtics defense was on the Bucks in Game 2. And the Celtics just stormed out to a huge lead in the first quarter and maintained that without an inkling of a Bucks comeback the entire time. So I think that the Celtics team has really come together, great defensively, and offensively. You saw good ball movement in Game 2 at the right time. And right now, I think that this Boston team's favored to come out of the East.
Yeah, so Steve, talking a little bit more about the NBA, a lot of people are saying a lot about a lot of different names for MVP, but who do you have as your favorite?
This is always tough. I've been between Jokic and Giannis mainly this year, and Nikola Jokic, he just torched every advanced stat known and had the most efficient season in NBA history. And you saw this Nuggets team that he carried to 48 games. It just shows how great of a player he is and how much he improves his teammates and impacts areas on all ends of the floor. And that was evident during the Warriors series, just the end of that series, where Jokic was just making these superhuman efforts to just get a bucket from the Nuggets in crunch time. And then the Warriors just have it easy on the other end, just distributing the ball because their team was just so much more loaded than the Nuggets. I think Jokic will get the MVP, but I also think Giannis Antetokounmpo has a really good case. You saw Giannis carry this Bucks team to really impressive wins this year, operating as the best player probably in the league on both the offensive and defensive ends. And he's really improved that mid-range jumper a lot. And defensively, there were just so many times he made great stops and clutch blocks late this year. I remember that one game late in the season against the Brooklyn Nets where he shows out on the defensive end and then hits that step-back 3 for the tie and wins the game in overtime. So I just think Jokic and Giannis both have great cases, and I think Jokic will end up winning it too.
So from the MVP to the most improved player, John Morant, still don't know how the Rookie of the Year then gets most improved player, but that's a topic for another discussion. But, you know, he is certainly excelled this playoffs and this season as a whole. What would you say is his ceiling going forward?
I really don't like to use the word ceiling in sports dialogue. I just don't feel like you can put like a limit or a cap on players because players exceed what we think that they're going to be. I mean, no one ever thought Giannis Antetokounmpo, when he was a teenager out of Greece, when he was drafted, would get to this level, or even guys like Pascal Siakam came out of nowhere to reach superstar status. So I don't really like the word ceiling, but I just think that John Morant, I really love the confidence he plays with, and that's something that really makes him great, is just some of that swagger and confidence. Even after losing that game one, I remember he was exchanging words with Steph Curry about how this rest of the series is going to be fun, and you saw that he comes out in game two and drops 45, 47 points on the Warriors. And one thing I've really been impressed with John Morant this playoffs is he's not really known as a three-point shooter, and teams like to go under his screens. But right now, he's making the Warriors pay for that. So far in this series, he's hit 9 threes. He's shooting 39% from three, and that is better than any player on the Warriors. Better than Steph, better than Jordan Poole, better than Klay Thompson. So just seeing Ja add these facets to his game and have more weapons in his arsenal just makes him more impressive of a player. And he's been a heck of a point guard. And this isn't going to be the last you see of the Grizzlies in the playoffs this deep. You're going to see them here for years to come.
Yeah, so speaking about the playoffs, 8 teams left. Do you see John Morant going deeper? Who do you like taking it all this year?
So when I watched that Warriors-Grizzlies game 2, I noticed, the Warriors shot, 18.4% from three that game. That's not happening again. You're not going to have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole combined for 6 of 29 from three-point range. That's just not going to happen. So the fact that the Warriors barely lost that game should be a very promising sign to them. And the fact that they won game one without Draymond Green. Now you go back to Golden State. They've never lost a game in the young history of the Chase Center in the postseason. And those runs at the Chase Center, those three-point barrages, they just feel heavier. It feels like one of the best home court advantages in sports. And the Grizzlies will operate without Dillon Brooks for game 3, having that suspension for taking Gary Payton the second out. So I think that the Warriors will take this series in 5 or 6 games. So I do like the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. But that matchup against the Suns, I don't know if that favors the Warriors, because the Suns are just clicking on another level right now. We saw that in the fourth quarter against Dallas, where they turned a 6-point lead with around 8.5 minutes left into a 26-point lead about 5 to 6 minutes later. This Suns team has virtually no weaknesses. Devin Booker's really improved. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson have made the jump since last year. This Suns team, I think, would sweep the 2021 Suns if you could get a hypothetical series between the two of them. That just shows how much they've improved under Monty Williams. So I really do think that the Suns are going to be the team that represents the West this year, but that's going to be a heck of a series between Golden State and Phoenix.
Yeah, it's certainly, the Warriors have been my pick for a while. I think I said at the beginning of the season, if they can stay healthy, they can be a team to watch out, and we'll certainly see what happens. But let's move on to college football for a sec. We here on the show are going to be talking about this a little bit. We've kind of been talking about it throughout the show. But, Steve, I'd love to hear your thoughts on NIL, as we've kind of seen it in the last week especially, just kind of explode in all sorts of conversations. So what's your take on all the NIL deals?
It's a little tough. This is a topic that I don't really talk too much about on Twitter, but I think that NIL overall is a good thing, and I think it was very necessary. When I was in college, I got paid for writing for the newspaper, and I thought it was a little ridiculous that I could get money off that, but the athletes that I was writing about that were accomplishing more for the university than me couldn't get anything off their name or image. So I think that NIL was definitely a necessary step for college football to take, and you've seen so many great things happen with it. On draft day, they were talking about Tyler Linderbaum, Iowa center story, where he donated his entire NIL fund to the Iowa Children's Hospital. So there have been so many great things that you've seen come out of it, and these athletes have deserved for so long to market off their name, image, and likeness. I think it was like a unanimous decision in the Supreme Court too, which shows that how many people supported it. Now, you get in a little tough area when you're seeing it being used for recruiting purposes. I know the Jordan Addison situation right now has been a little heavy. You're seeing teams offer high 6-figure, 7 seven-figure NIL deals from boosters in order to recruit players. So I think that if there's any regulation where you can avoid NIL deals in place for recruiting or before a prospect commits to a certain university, I think that would probably be the best way to regulate it, where NIL still is in place and effective, but it's not being used as just a bidding war to land players to universities via the boosters, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and so talking about college football underdogs, who do you see in the group of 5 potentially being a surprise team coming up this year?
I don't know what level of a surprise team they are. I think they could be in the preseason poll, but I think the Houston Cougars really have a lot to make an impressive run this year. Dana Holgorsen made a huge jump last year from year 2 on campus to year 3. And this Cougars team, they lost to Texas Tech on week 1 in a really turnover-riddled game. And then they just rattled off 12 straight wins, and they had Cincinnati on the ropes for about a half in that AAC championship game, lost that game, and beat Auburn in the Birmingham Bowl. But this Houston team, even though they lost a few draft prospects like Marcus Jones and Logan Hall, who were day 2 selections, I think this team really has what it takes to go undefeated this year. And that's why I'm going to put them as a bit of a surprise, because I don't know how many people are expecting Houston to go undefeated. But when you look at the schedule, it really lines up this year. They avoid Cincinnati, they avoid UCF in AAC play, and their non-conference schedule of UTSA, Texas Tech, Kansas, and Rice is more than manageable. So I think when you have a 4th-year starting quarterback with Clayton Tune, who made a huge jump from year 2 to year 3, you get Brandon Campbell, former highly recruited running back from USC in the transfer portal. You have a star receiver like Tank Dell, 5'10", 160-pound, just really fast receiver who I think has NFL talent, and a great defense that's really known for getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I think this Houston team has all the tools needed to go 12-0 next year heading into the conference championship weekend.
Wow, so undefeated, bold prediction, but if anybody would know about those teams, obviously you cover them and you'll get to cover them this season. So another Texas team we would love a prediction on, our hometown Texas Longhorns. Feels like every year we make predictions and almost all the time they're wrong. But Steve, you seem to be a good realist when it comes to Texas football. So I'm curious your predictions for the upcoming season.
Oh, I was really good at predicting these Texas records when I was in college, but it's been a little tough the past 2 years.
Yeah, so please say 12-0.
Yeah, I'm going to say 12-0 for Texas. I think they return to bowl season this year. Bijan Robinson's too good of a talent not to, it feels like. We haven't really seen Quinn Ewers on the field yet, and I'm not sure how he's going to perform as a quarterback. You can only take so much away from a spring game, but this team has so much offensive talent, especially in the receiving core there with Xavier Worthy. So I think that Texas is in really good shape offensively. I need to see more out of this team defensively, because I think one of my top takeaways last year was I said last year, I didn't see a single player on this defense that looked like an NFL draft pick. And then they proved me right by having 0 picks in this past draft. So need to see some improvement on the defensive side of the ball. I think Texas can go, I want to go the 8-5 to 9-4 range next year. That Alabama game is going to be really tough. Then Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, might be some other losses. I'm leaning toward 9-4 just because I like a lot of their offensive talent, and I think they're going to have a good bounce back year. A lot of their losses last year, Kansas, Oklahoma, were just really avoidable losses, and I think that they can capitalize on those with just having more sheer offensive firepower.
Well, we'll certainly take the 9-4 record, and we hope that the Steve Helwick prediction comes through. I think most Longhorn fans after last season would just take 8 or 9 wins. We'll see what happens. Obviously, it's hard to predict. But Steve, we're so glad that you could have joined us this morning. We wish you luck the rest of you're covering all these teams, and we'll see if that Houston prediction comes to be true.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this college football season. It's going to be a good one, and the rest of the NBA playoffs too. So good time of the year right now.
Well, again, Steve, thanks for joining us. And when we come back, We are returning for the first time in a long time to the 1-0 Sports Locker Room, talking NIL, NHL Playoffs, and so much more. Stick around. You don't want to miss it. Okay.
27, 28.
Do we want to merge the NIL and transfer? Welcome. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. Clearly, it's the same old show where we're still talking in the in-bumps, debating questions, but we're so glad to be back in the 1-0 Sports Locker Room. I've been told it's the first time in a while.
Yep. First time since COVID, I think.
First time since COVID, but it's clean. We've sanitized the lockers, so we're good to go. We're good to go.
Is there any AC in here yet?
I don't know if I don't think there's no way with our budget that the there's any AC in here. But we've been talking about this all show. We're talking about NIL deals and how crazy it's been. It's kind of turned, at least some of this offseason, it's almost felt like NFL free agency. So at what point do we say that NIL is out of control and does it need to be regulated? Adam, we'll start with you.
I think the issue is when you get the boosters involved, when these boosters are throwing 6, 7-figure. I think the advertising with businesses is great. That's what you're supposed to be able to do. You should be able to, get sponsorship. You should be able to sign a jersey and make money off it. But it's when these boosters are throwing 6- and 7-figure things for absolutely nothing, for just playing for the school. I think that's where it's a little bit out of control. I think these players, they deserve to make some sort of money. But I think when you have, even like you were saying before, when it's becoming a recruiting tool, like millions of dollars, but then there's also the group who says, hey, this has probably been happening for years. Yeah. It just hasn't been fully advertised.
No, I don't think it's been millions of dollars.
No, I don't think so. But I think there's been money still for a while.
There's absolutely been money. Robert, do you agree with this?
I mean, Steve made a good point. It's like the problem gets to be whenever you're bringing recruits to your school with that money. Mm-hmm. I'm all for somebody like Bijan Robinson already chose his school, shows up, then Lamborghini, wants to sponsor him because he's a student athlete. They're a legitimate business, which you also made up a great point. Like people knew this was going to happen, that some booster would just make Booster Inc. and then give away a ton of money, which that's just the way I guess systems work. But I do see what you're saying. I don't like that. I see the spirit of the rule was kind of designed, and the way that the spirit of the rule has been working has actually been positive, I think. So just eliminate a little bit of those inconsistencies, and I think even if you see some crazy lucrative deals, all in all, it's not out of control.
I'm going to push back a little bit, and you brought this point up earlier because what the NIL has kind of forced us to reckon with is, are these players, are they college athletes? Are they college students or not? And we're going to kind of get into our next question talking about the transfer portal. But at what point do we say when guys are going from one college to another college to another college and they're just transferring to whoever pays them the most, that if they're actually there to get a college education, we're actually not helping them? Again, I'm all for it. They should be able to make money for signing stuff. But if we're just luring them from one school to one school to one school and they're not getting a college degree and then maybe things don't pan out for them, now we've left this kid with a lot of money and probably not good people around him to take care of it and no college education. Yeah. And if we're going to say that they're college athletes, then we need to make college a priority. And we need to not just say you're going to go from this school to this school to this school and have 3 different schools and 3 different degrees, and at the end of the day, no actual degree, and you graduate and you made like $3 million that you're going to go and blow on stuff. So I think there needs to be some sort of regulation both in the transfer portal and with NIL stuff, or else it's going to get out of control and it's just going to be, it's a professional sport. And if we want to make it that way, then let's make it that way, but let's be clear on our distinctions with what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think any college kid, when you have the chance to make 7 figures, it's going to affect how big school is a part of your life compared to something that's making you like $1 million. So, but I don't know how you, so I mean, yeah, all of college football may be changing. And that kind of goes into our next question, not so much NIL, but we're talking transfer portal. Like you mentioned, you can transfer, you get one transfer, no questions asked, basically. What do y'all guys think about that? Is that going to change the way that college football, is it even college football in the same way that we have thought of it? Thomas?
I actually think I'm more anti-transfer portal than NIL. I am completely okay with grad transfers. Like, I get that. I think that's great, right? Like, if you want to go to another school for you get your graduate degree, you get it paid for, and you get to go play somewhere else. I think that's great. But again, if we're saying that it's college sports and we're letting these guys commit one place and then transfer somewhere else, I just think we need, again, it's all about the definitions that we put on the sport. And I think if we're going to care about these kids as college students, we need to manage the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's going to destroy the mid-majors too. I mean, you look,
Yeah,
look at
absolutely.
St. Peter's. I mean, they've cleared house in the past month. Now, their coach did leave, which I think could be an interesting point. Maybe if the head coach leaves, maybe there is some sort of waiver you can get, because a lot of these guys are signing with schools because of the coach. They're committing there.
And they've had some of those rules with recruiting where if a coach leaves, you can get out of signing, which I think is a good rule.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it's especially in college basketball, I think it's going to be tough for these mid-majors because they're going to go on a great run. There's still going to be Cinderella teams, but there's not going to be repeat Cinderella teams. I think they're going to go on a Cinderella run. Everyone's going to bail ship, go to Power 5 schools, and then they're going to have to rebuild. So I think it's going to have a huge effect on mid-major programs because their best players aren't necessarily committed to go there 4 years. But yeah, I think it's out of control. I think grad transfers are fantastic because, again, you have your college degree. You've earned that right to go pursue education or, the end of your college career elsewhere. I just think right now it's almost too much like free agency. Guys are just bouncing around now. Obviously, there are some issues where, it's health issues, like family health issues. You need to be closer to home. But I think that could be more solved through kind of a waiver process than just the free-for-all we have right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they have those waiver processes. So, I mean, to me, it's like kind of tied in really deeply with NIL because when you have a lot of money on the line, depending on what school you go to, you can get $100,000, $200,000 contract apparently now. I can see the argument, too, that you're arguing as a player that I should be able to transfer since there's so much I could be potentially earning. And I think that's kind of what we've said is that I mean, personally believe the whole game has changed to a level where it really is just kind of in between college and pro, where you just have colleges that essentially own professional teams, and then on those teams, they happen to go to school. So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like the reverse way of building IMG Academy, except that now it's just like official and it's the real system, which is, so to me, I'd say the whole game has changed.
Yeah, it's certainly changed. And you're right, you bring up IMG, when you look at the fact that that's how so much high school sports is, it's like it's no wonder that college sports is kind of moving in that same direction. Let's move to professional football. The NFL draft occurred this past weekend. So, guys, I want to know whether it was a draft pick or a trade, who's now on a new team are you most excited to see in the 2022-23 season?
I'm going to have to go with George Trellarkin out of, I think he came from Florida State, but he's going to be playing for Kansas City. They really needed a good edge rusher coming out of last season, and we've seen their offense, has been historically fantastic over the last few years, but that defense has kind of kept them from taking that last little step into the Super Bowl. You would argue maybe they would have a little dynasty run going here if they could have just put maybe a top 15, top 20 defense on the field, which they have done in a lot of ways, but they've really underperformed when it mattered most. And so this draft pick, of course, isn't going to change anything anytime soon. We're going to have to see George actually step up. Which is why, for me personally, I'm a little bearish on like draft talk and how big it can be. But as far as the draft goes, I'm really excited to see where Kansas City takes their defense, because that to me could make. I mean, the AFC is already going to be super competitive. It could make it insanely competitive if Kansas City brings out a great defense next year.
Yeah, certainly answered a need that they had. Adam, who's your guy?
How about the Cardinals picking up Marquise Brown in a big draft day trade? Yeah. I think, he played with, Kyler Murray a little bit in college back at Oklahoma. So, obviously DeAndre Hopkins now suspended for 6 games of the year, so they'll be without him. But once they get him on the field together, you got the speed of Brown who can take the top off defense, and Hopkins who's just such a reliable pass catcher. So really giving Kyler Murray some, an array of weapons after a disappointing playoff exit this year. Yeah,
that'll be interesting. You mentioned especially when Hopkins is back. That's going to be a really dangerous offense. For me, there's kind of 2 guys in the draft I want to look at. First is Kayvon Thibodeau, who went to the Giants. That's just, first of all, he's got personality. He's got so much talent. I think he was the #1 player in the draft. I'm bummed he went to the Giants as a Washington Commanders fan. I also wish I could have been on this show when they changed the name, because we could have filled a whole episode with how bad I thought. But anyways, I'm excited to see him play. Also, really excited to see Malik Willis at the Titans. I think he's going to have so much fire in his belly, not just dropping all the way that he did. I mean, a lot of people even going into the draft thought he was going to be a top 10 pick, falls all the way that he does, and then Ryan Tannehill coming in saying, I'm not going to mentor this guy. Tannehill has been a decent quarterback, but he's never been an elite level quarterback. Willis won't be there for a couple years, but I could see him having a lot of fire in his belly and eventually taking over the job in Tennessee for Tannehill.
Yeah, because that's Derrick Henry's team right now.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's running the show in Tennessee.
Exactly. Yeah. So you get Willis there, you get some mobility. I think you could have a dangerous team in Tennessee.
Yeah, as a Colts fan, not too excited to see.
Yeah, that's right.
But moving on to the NHL playoffs, so the Colorado Avalanche and the Florida Panthers are coming out as favorites in either conference, but really it's still anybody's ball game in this point of the season of the playoffs. So, guys, who do you got in the championship and who do you have taking it all?
This is one of the best times of the year. We've made it to the NHL playoffs. The NHL during the regular season, pretty boring, but you get to the playoffs. I mean, I was awakened to this a couple years ago in college. It is one of the most electrifying times in sports, especially when you get to like some overtime playoff hockey. So I've been watching. I've really enjoyed it so far. And the two teams that I like so far from the West, I like the Avs. You mentioned they're the #1 overall seed. They've been there for so long. They're led by Nathan MacKinnon, who's been one of the top players in the league for a long time. I think this is finally the year they get to the Stanley Cup, and I think this could be their year to take the cup. Out of the East, two teams I like. First of all, the Leafs. There's always got to be a Canadian team. It's been a while since they've won it. I would love to see the Leafs get there, but also the Hurricanes have done a great job in round one. They're up 2-0 on the Bruins, a really formidable Boston team. So I think either of those teams, they're not the favorites, but I think we've seen in the past the team who wins the President's Cup, who has the best record in the regular season, always underperforms in the playoffs. So I like either Leafs or the Hurricanes, but I think the Avs take it all.
He knows more about hockey than us, doesn't he?
I've watched like 5 playoff games. That's all this knowledge is coming from.
I did have the Colorado Nashville game on last night. Colorado looked good, won in overtime, so they're up 2-0 in that one. So I think Colorado looks good. I think the Wild Blues looks like a pretty tight series. But so yeah, I'll take Colorado out of the West. Out of the East, Austin Matthews, he's the guy I know playing for Toronto. I think he's the first American to ever score 60 goals in an NHL season. So he's tearing it up. So, and like you said, it's been a while since a Canadian team went there. I'll go Colorado and Toronto in the final. We'll get to Colorado. I mean, they were top of the West. They're up 2-0, so there's a lot of snow in Colorado. So
that's right.
We'll go
a lot more snow there than Florida.
I'll help you out here because I think Colorado, for me, I'm picking them because it's the reverse of the usual. The President's Cup team does usually underperform. I think this is one of those years they just kind of squeak by and become kind of an exception to that rule.
The Panthers were the President's Cup.
Oh, they won the President's
Cup. But the Avs
right.
are #1 in the West.
Okay, yeah, I'm still taking the Avs. So reverse everything that I just said. The Florida Panthers are going to lose. Because I agree with you. Well, I agree completely with your prediction. I also have the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Avalanche in there. But I have the Avs taking it.
So all we know so far is if we all have the Leafs doing good and the Avs doing good, do not bet on those teams. They're cursed now.
Yeah.
They're cursed
the
now.
Leafs
Dallas
for
Stars?
sure you can fade them.
Oh, please no. Please no, not the
Dallas
Stars.
Stars.
They could.
Yeah.
But I think Calgary, the Flames, I think they're going to take that series. Again, the Canadian teams,
Finally
I'm
back.
bullish.
Yeah,
and
I'm
watch
bullish on
out the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
Watch out Connor McDavid, another star player. He could do some damage too.
Yeah. Connor McDavid, that's a great name. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
All right, so final question here. A lot of moments, good and bad, for the Texas Longhorns in the 2021-22 season. But guys, I want to know favorite moments from the Horns this past season. Robert?
I mean, hey, I love the women's basketball run in the tournament. To me, that was for a senior, you always want to go out on a like good season. Actually, that play right there that they're showing with Xavier Worthy, I'd say was probably #2. If only we could have won that game.
Yeah, that moment came crashing down.
Yeah, the rest of that game was so like traumatic. So I have to kind of take that one out of play. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that run from women's basketball. It's good to see them back to their winning ways again after maybe a couple years here and there. And I mean, I don't know. That was as far as sports went for UT with football, the major ones, basketball. Second round one from the men was kind of nice, but nobody had the success that women's basketball did this year.
Yeah, deep run by women's basketball for sure. I think that first half of the Red River rivalry, that definitely stands out. It was just a crazy atmosphere. I mean, Texas was up, I think, 28-7 after the first quarter. I mean, I've never been in an atmosphere that was just as crazy as that. You could just feel the electricity, blocked the punt after the Xavier Worthy touchdown. They're up 14-0 within 3 minutes, and then it came crashing down. I also think the win against Kansas was pretty special, closing out the Irwin Center with the late comeback. So just a really big win for this Texas team. That's really taken some steps forward under Chris Beard. It's going to be fun to see him open up the Moody Center next year. And we'll see what baseball and softball does down the stretch, see if anyone can make a College World Series run. So baseball a little bit shaky, but softball, they knocked off Oklahoma, snapped a long winning streak for the Sooners that I don't think many people thought they were going to do.
Yeah, Robert, I mean, I'm not going to take your answer, but the women's basketball team, I mean, talk about a run and what Vic Schaefer has done, hopefully is going to be we're going to see for years to come. Roy Harmon, just a freshman, leading that team to the Elite Eight. I have two moments that really stick out for me. First of all, you brought up the Kansas game. I was there for that. That was one of the best. I mean, the Irwin Center is not known for being an electric atmosphere, but that stadium, that game was absolutely electric. And was thrilling. Fans rushing the court, that was awesome. The other moment was the Texas Baylor baseball series. I was at two of those games.
Yep.
And, it's just fun watching a lot of home runs. And so when you outscore a team, 48-9 over the course of 3 games? I mean, it was just home run, home run, home run, home run. So that was just a fun moment of just watching those guys see beach balls being thrown at them.
I think the only crazier atmosphere Texas-Kansas, that Texas Tech basketball atmosphere was off the rails now. It's because all of Lubbock, I guess, just came down for the game. I think Lubbock was a ghost town on that Saturday, but
that's right.
that may have been the craziest atmosphere that's ever been at the Frank Irwin Center.
Yeah, a lot of good moments. Hopefully many more moments to come next year for the Longhorns. And when we come back, still the three of us, we're going to be making all of our picks for this weekend in sports. Stick around. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show, and it is time for our weekly pick'ems. We're picking all the different games and series going on this weekend. So first up, we're going to start with the NBA playoffs. Heat taking on the 76ers, 6 o'clock tonight. Heat lead 2-0 in the series. Robert, who do you have winning that one?
I got the Sixers. I think you bounce back here. Joel Embiid isn't going to let this team go down 3-0. This is one of those cases I really think, you have a lot of different talent. There's too much parity in the league for anyone to be losing this much. So I'm going to say the Sixers.
I'm going to take the Heat. I think Bam Adebayo, he's pretty much done what he wants inside. I'm not sure Joel Embiid's going to play. I know there were talks about maybe he's going to play, maybe he's not, coming off that concussion. So I think the Heat, they've just been too good. James Harden, as a Rockets fan, I've watched him underperform in the playoffs year after year after year. So I'll go Heat to go 3-0 in that one.
I'm going to agree with you, Robert. I think the Heat take this series, but I don't think there's any way that the 76ers go down 3-0 at this point. I think they take that game.
All right, Phoenix and the Mavericks going at it at 8:30. Adam, who do you have?
I just feel like the Mavericks are finally going to get one. Jalen Brunson, he's only scored 22 points combined in the first 2 games for the Mavericks. They've really relied on Luka Doncic heavily, so I expect Brunson, I expect Dorian Finney-Smith kind of bounce back, get the Mavs a game here. I don't think this series goes any longer than 6 games. This is the Suns series, but I think the Mavericks get one at home tonight.
You heard Steve Helwick say it earlier. The Suns are really gelling right now. The chemistry is there. I don't think there's anything that stops them, especially not the Mavericks. I got the Suns.
I agree with both of you here. I'm going to give the Mavs their one at home. So yeah, one at home. You get one. That's it. The Suns are going on a tear, probably NBA Finals, but yeah, that's it.
All right, so Celtics Bucks it's actually at Milwaukee. I was wrong earlier. I'll hand up. That's my bad. And yeah, Celtics Bucks. Who you got, Robert?
I'm actually going to go with the Celtics here. I think that with the series tied, it's really going to be about a home court advantage in such a crucial Game 3. I see this one being very close. I would not put any money on this game personally, but I think the home court advantage gives the Celtics maybe like a 5-point edge.
Yeah, it's been a weird series because you think it's going to probably go the distance, but each game has been like a 20-point blowout by either side, so who knows what to expect. The Celtics are getting Marcus Smart back tonight. I think that's the difference. I hope it's a closer game tonight for the neutral sake, but I'm going to go Celtics in a close one.
Yeah, I agree. Getting Marcus Smart back plus Chris Middleton out for the Bucks, I just think there's no way the Bucks find a way to win this. So I got the Celtics winning big.
All right, and then the last of the series is going on. The Grizzlies and the Warriors in a Game 3. Who do you got, Thomas?
I got Warriors winning this one. It's going back home again. As Steve Helwick said, Chase Center has been great home court advantage for the Warriors, and I don't think that stops.
I forgot it was called the Chase Center in my notes. I said, have fun in Oracle.
Formerly Oracle.
Yeah, well then have fun at the Chase.
I wouldn't have known if Steve had said it.
But I'm going to say have fun at the Chase Center in Memphis. I think the Warriors, this has been a close game in Memphis, but Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, they're going to get figured out tonight. I take the Warriors or tomorrow night. I take the Warriors for sure.
Yeah, because I took the Celtics for more of a home court advantage. I take this one. I agree with you. The Warriors are just going to figure out the Grizzlies. Bearish on the Grizz. 5 to 6 games max. I think the series goes.
All right, boys, time to move on to the NHL playoffs. Grab your Tim Hortons. Buckle up. Maple Leafs at the Lightning. Series tied 1-1. Who you got?
Hey, listen here. I'm not a hockey fan, not a hockey expert. I am a hockey fan. I shouldn't say that. I'm not a hockey expert. And I'm going to pick the Canada side here, and I'm going to go with Toronto. I have them, being in the Stanley Cup final. I'm going to stick with them here in a crucial Game 3, even on the road.
Yeah, on my notes I was going to pick Tampa Bay, but on the sheet I put Toronto. And so,
who's it going to be?
Since I picked Toronto to go to the Stanley Cup, I got to stick with them. So we'll go Austin Matthews, score some goals. There's been 13 goals so far combined in the first 2 games of this series, so not much defense. So Austin Matthews, he has 60 of them on the year. Someone would say he gets a couple more.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go all 3 here for the Leafs. I think when you look at the way that their lines have performed throughout this series, especially that third line has come on really strong, and that penalty kill line, I've been really impressed with them. They're so good at getting past the blue line, getting into the zone, getting the slap shots. I've made up half of the things I just said. I have no idea how good their lines are, but I got the Leafs.
I was impressed.
Yeah, I was too.
I was like, man, he actually knows what he's talking about.
That's really
Literally, all I know is there's multiple lines, but I think it sounded good.
No, that did. It sounded great.
We'll send it to Josh Martell.
Yeah, that's right. But Leafs winning this one.
Yeah, right. Going into a different series, the St. Louis Blues are going to take on the Wild, and I believe that's of Minnesota, right?
Yes.
Minnesota's
Yeah, there you
Wild?
go.
Okay, Minnesota is Wild. So Game 3, series tied. Who do y'all got?
I'm going with the Wild, and more than stats or whatever, I just hate the St. Louis Blues. I've hated them for a while. I think they beat San Jose a couple years ago, and I just haven't liked them since then. So I got the Minnesota Wild winning this one.
Yeah, great pick. The Blues are down a couple defenders tonight, according to the injury report. The
too.
Wild put 6 past them in Game 2. So if you're already scoring 6 goals, now the Blues are down a couple defenders. Give me the Wild. Even though it's in St. Louis, I think they go on the road and get a big win.
Yeah, I had the Blues down on this, but I had just learned that the Blues are down a couple of players tonight.
Just getting
so
reports.
I'm going to actually go with the Minnesota Wild here. Yeah, I do think the injuries in such a tight series as this one has been is going to make a difference.
All right, let's move on to the MLB Cardinals facing the Giants tonight. Late game. Robert, who you got?
I'm going to go with the Cardinals. They're a slight favorite in Vegas. I just think they've been riding a little hot recently, both teams. Kind of opening up the season a little lackluster. I mean, maybe not a dream season that you want to have, but I'd say the Cardinals tonight.
Adam?
You want to talk about the Texas bullpen? The Giants, they used 9 pitchers yesterday. So give me the Cardinals. I think the Giants are just going to run out of arms. If their starter doesn't go a long ways, they're going to be in trouble tonight. So I like the Cardinals bats to give them another win.
I think the Giants are going to bounce back tonight. You brought up the bullpen, but I think they're going to shake that off. I think they're going to be just like Texas, 1 game bad, 1 game good, and I think the G-men take this game.
All right, and you can catch this one 5 miles north of our studio. Austin FC against LA Galaxy at Q2 Stadium. Who do you guys got?
All I know from what I've heard about Austin FC is that they basically haven't lost this season and have been really good at home. So I think we're going to keep going. Vamos Austin. I think Los Verdes get the win.
Great pick. They're 6 unbeaten, and Cecilio Dominguez, he was suspended. He's back eligible again for this game. So we're going to go another Austin FC at home. Last year they couldn't score. This year they can't lose. So we're going to go with the Austin FC.
That's a good transition from year to year.
Yeah, I think with the MLS, maybe you just have to get 1 grace year before you get your Vegas year. And this is just Austin's Vegas year.
That's right.
To be the Golden Knights of the MLS. I'm going Austin FC.
See, you do know some hockey stuff. The Golden Knights had that great run.
That's true.
There
I
you
did
go.
know that. Yeah,
There you go.
Maybe that's more Vegas, though.
I don't know about them because hockey, because of Vegas. All right, so moving to the 40 acres, just down 35, talking about Texas softball takes on Baylor this weekend. How many games of the 3 does Texas softball win? Robert?
Texas softball's been hot, definitely of the 2 teams. They always get compared baseball, softball. Softball has actually been doing their stuff and winning the games they're supposed to win and actually going above and beyond. I think one thing for me, too, that Texas has shown is really a consistency and an ability to just dominate the teams that you're supposed to. That said, Baylor's not a team you should overlook, but I see Texas taking the sweep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have in notes. They've been able to beat bad teams. They've swept Texas Tech, they swept Kansas, they swept Iowa State. Baylor's 5-10 in conference play. Texas is 10-5. Give me another sweep. I think the Horns sweep the Bears this weekend.
I feel like we were all having the same picks, and I really want to change it just to be different. But I mean, like y'all said, this team is a really good team, and losses to Oklahoma State and Oklahoma don't disprove that. They're just a lot better. But against a team like Baylor, I think the Horns easily get the sweep.
All right, and then on the other side of the coin, Texas baseball in a series against West Virginia. How many games of the 3 do you think they win this weekend, Thomas?
I think they're going to bounce back from that disappointing series against Oklahoma State. They're going to get the series win against West Virginia. West Virginia team who started off really hot, but has really faded down the stretch. I think especially as they've gone against some of the tougher opponents in the Big 12. I think the Longhorns take 2 of 3. I think they probably win on Friday with Pete Hansen, and if Lucas Gordon continues to pitch the way he has last Saturday, I think they get the win on Sunday. I think the game on Saturday, Stevens has kind of been all over the place, so I think they may lose that. But I think 2 out of 3 in the series win for the Longhorns.
And I think I saw that Stevens may not even start. I think they might be switching some stuff up. But yeah, I agree. I mean, this Texas team, they've been too inconsistent to predict a sweep. So I think there's going to be one game in there where they drop or where they blow a lead or something when we saw them collapse last week against Oklahoma State. So I'm going to go 2 out of 3. This is a West Virginia team that slipped up. They won 2 out of 3 against Kansas last week. So they're probably below average in the Big 12. It's a team that Texas should be beating, but because of the Longhorns' inconsistency, I'm going 2 out of 3.
Yeah, Texas's volatility has been a thing. I think here, though, I'm just kind of predicting more that they're on an upswing, and that combined with West Virginia being kind of defeated, it seems like recently, I think they kind of are going to show up. I'm betting on like a lower mentality coming in, so I'm going to bet on the sweep, but definitely 2 out of 3 I think is more likely.
All right, well, those are our picks for the weekend. If you've learned anything from watching us over the years, you know, whatever we pick the opposite, because you'll probably win your bets that way. We still got a little bit more coming up on the show after this. We're going to have some closing thoughts and a senior montage, so stick around. You won't want to miss it. For the last time today and this school year, welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. And this final segment, we're going to talk, we just want to reflect on our years at the 1-0 Sports Show. But before we do some reflection, our amazing producers have put together a montage of some of the best 1-0 moments over the years. Check it out.
Hello and welcome into the very first episode of the 1-0 Sports Show. I'm your host, Thomas Fitch, joined alongside by my co-host, Robert Trevino.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Welcome to the show that's just trying to go 1-0 week in and week out.
One, Texas has has only one healthy running back, so they can't run.
That's true.
It's true.
I don't know if it says they can't
It is
run,
true about the
but
one
that is
healthy
true. They
running
have one healthy running back. You can't call.
But by the way,
Roshan Johnson,
Deontay Ingram, he has legs, right?
Yeah, he does have.
Sam Ellinger,
He does have legs.
so
He's not.
So they
he's not a
can run,
running back.
right?
He's not a running back.
Okay.
But Feinbaum, I'll give him like half a point.
Dude, you
He's
like
okay.
Feinbaum way too much.
Yeah. All right. OU's gonna win the Big 12.
Boo.
That finishes out
Look at him
my
booing.
top 4.
All right, let's get to some spread predictions. By the way, that looks Ohio State. Is that an omen? That's an omen for
That
them.
might be
It's got to be an
for
omen.
Ohio State. Thomas.
Oh no.
Thomas.
The board, Daniel Sheen. You're not coming back. Time to channel Lander Stephen A. Missing the cigar. Dallas Cowboys. A couple weeks back, Cowboys were 3-0. And I told y'all, they're overrated. Daniel's happy. Robert's just bummed because he missed a pick. I'm sad. A lot different mood here in the locker room.
Baby.
10.5. Robert?
I'm gonna bring out a hat.
Wow,
here.
a hat.
Another
The hat
hat.
has made an
Texas,
appearance.
there's no way that I could not pick my Longhorns. All right? We're winning this weekend. I'm
Wow,
gonna be at the
you're
game.
picking outright.
I'm picking outright. Texas is going to win outright, so bet on that.
Look here.
And I think the Chiefs are right there too. Which is funny because I was seeing some calls for like Andy Reid to maybe go out on top with the Super Bowl. I think he's just got his first taste of winning. And I think this team with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they make such an awesome combo that they can do this for another decade. They can be the next Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Now I said they could, didn't say they would, so don't write me on that.
You have the other goalie. He's not allowed to cross the red line for reasons that our producer told me and I forgot. But here it is. Here it is. The fisticuffs.
They're being drawn.
Beautiful fisticuffs. A goalie fight. That's not something you see every day in the NHL.
We had an incredible car chase that came out of this. So let's see the tape. We had it earlier.
I mean, this is
on the
literally
Super
happening. You could see. I mean, people were lined up on the street for the parade.
It's crazy. I'm
And
just
I mean,
over here
can you
staring at
imagine? I mean, you're here again, like you said, first time in 50 years. You're ready to see Patrick Mahomes, ready to see the whole team, and next thing you know, you got a car driving down and 3 cops after him.
And I'm going to correct you, it's not a group, it's an individual. Who, about in the 80s, released a record that has been appropriated as a pro.
Oh, Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
Wait,
I think I had that one.
I think I had that one.
That was my initial instinct.
All right, number 2, LSU.
All right, I'm running out of units here, so I have to be sparse. I'm selling LSU.
Wow.
Their schedule is very tough. I think Alabama will show themselves to be the better team within the SEC West, and I think this year college football is too competitive as a whole on varying conferences for a team to not make their conference championship game and still make the playoffs.
For everybody at Master Control and in studio, I'm Thomas Fitch, joined by Zach Leff, Robert Trevino. For the last time, it's 8:59, and OU still sucks. Hook 'em horns.
Wow, what a video. Again, major shout out to all the producers working on this. Adam in the studio. John, did you work on this?
No.
Okay. Well, thanks to Adam and
Oh,
whoever else worked on it, and obviously y'all too. Graduating seniors, final show. So I would love to get just some thoughts, reflections on your time at 1-0, and just all, obviously Robert, we, hosted it the very first time, and spent many episodes on air, and this guy came on air a couple times, but also when you weren't, you were always here like first thing in the morning. John would even beat me into the studio at like 7 in the morning. So both of y'all key parts of the show. So just share some reflections and some favorite memories.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been an incredible experience to be part of TSTV Sports, and I know when I joined, this show wasn't a thing, and I think it's kind of a testament this show is to how I felt about my entire time at TSTV, where you have a lot of people here, and everybody I've known in my time here has been real passionate about sports, and they, are willing to spend their time talking about it, and that's something that I think is worth, a lot. I think it means a lot for people. To have a passion, and I'm so excited that I've been able to share this one with y'all, and to, start this show and come up with things to be a part of that with you was really awesome, and it was an honor. So, I know some of my favorite moments were here in the mornings. I know we started, the first ever call time we had was we all were here at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So we pushed the show soon after that, an hour, because that was not sustainable. But even that year, we were still getting up at 7 and being here by 7. So the dedication it takes to do that. You have to love sports a lot, and you have to love talking about it. And I know I'm going to keep doing it after, even if it's not in any capacity like this. So, because I just like talking sports and basically anything. And it's kind of just the vibe, We don't know maybe the most about sports, but we have a fun time talking it. So that's what I'll always remember. And I'm just glad that you guys were there for me with that. And it was a lot of fun.
I think that's the best way to sum up the show. We don't necessarily know a lot about sports, but we have a
don't.
fun time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what you want, right?
Yeah.
You want people having fun, and I think this show everybody who's been on this show has had a fun time, whether they knew a lot or a little bit about sports. So, John, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Starting out my sophomore year, so 2019, obviously getting up early in the morning was a challenge. But, it was fun to come out Friday mornings. And it was so low key. I felt like the other shows, there's a big production. They come in Friday morning, we're all tired, but we're happy to be here, and it's just super chill and fun. Y'all, Josh Martella, occasionally Danny Shee.
Yep. Turner Barnes
Occasionally. When it comes to my favorite moments of 1-0, unfortunately, Robert, I don't think anyone's ever ripped you for this on air, but Robert Trevino doesn't wake up occasionally.
That is true.
Or when he does, he's tweeting about NFTs. So those are always funny moments. I remember Turner filled in once. I filled in once in the fall. They're just funny, personally.
But you kill it when you're here.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's always a fun show. It's been a great semester. There'll be a twit longer later this weekend with like my thoughts on the semester. But it's definitely been a challenge, you know, getting back in person. So I'm definitely grateful to the people who came week to week. I see two of them standing right there, Samantha Pearl and CC Rodriguez, and of course Adam Ogburn.
Oh yeah.
In the studio, and a lot of other people. They'll be a tour longer, but definitely help keep TSTV Sports alive. Coming back from the internet, which was the fall was really tough.
Yeah.
But between Matt Marinchak and myself and Marcus Risen, you know, hopefully help push us in the right direction for the future.
Yeah. Well, the last 1-0 show I was on before this was virtual. You know, we were doing it on Zoom, and we still had fun, but it wasn't quite as much fun as being in person. But it's been fun. You know, obviously I've been graduated for a year, but it's been fun to even see this show continue. You know, it started as kind of a brainchild of, well, you know, we have guys who like to talk about sports, more of kind of a podcast, you know, less formal way. What if we turn it into a show? And, you know, never thought it would grow to be something that's still on air and people are still doing. But it's just been so fun to be a part of it. And, you know, like you said, Robert, it's just a show of, we're not trying to have the best takes or the most stats, but we are trying to have the most fun. And I think whether you, the viewer, had fun watching it, we at least had fun doing it. And I think that's made it fun for the viewers. And so it's just been so much fun being a part of it with y'all and so many others who have been a part of 1-0 over the course of this journey, and hope that it continues on, you know, even after y'all and even after me as a show, that people continue to just have fun and talk about sports, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? That's why we love sports, because it's fun, and it's something that we all love. So it's been so much fun, guys. Been so much fun getting to be back and host. It feels weird. I feel like I don't deserve to be in this position as an alumni getting to host. But any final thoughts from y'all before we send it off?
I mean, just thank you guys so much for everything. I mean, I know Thomas has always been putting in that work since the day I walked into TSTV as a freshman. So that has been awesome to see. And then John, ever since I've been involved with TSTV, and he has as well, he's just been killing it, both behind the scenes and everything that you see on camera pretty much is all him. You know, so many great people throughout the years that are no longer, you know, here at UT, people that are going to be taking over, or, you know, that already do run everything. Like TSTV Sports isn't as great of a place as it was when I walked in, and I'm so excited to see what the future holds for everyone. And I'm just happy, man. So, yeah, this has been awesome. That's all I got to say left. Yeah, I don't know, John, if you had any more thoughts on that, but
yeah, I just wanted to give a final thank you to Adam Ogburn.
Yeah,
I mean, he's definitely, you know, really been keeping the show alive. I know when you were still here, you produced all of the shows, and one time I produced one of the shows. It is a lot. You don't get a lot of help. It's 5 blocks of content. It's really tough, and you know, Adam's been doing that this past year, keeping it alive, and you know, the show's on his backs really right now.
Yeah, the show is on Adam's back, and the good thing about this is that Adam will still be around going forward. So
he's not entering the transfer portal. He's going to stay here.
Hopefully he does not enter the transfer portal. Please, no.
is working some NIL deals to try to get him, but
they're trying, man. I've heard something about Bentley making an offer out to him, but I don't know about that officially.
All right, well, that's all we have for the show, guys. Thanks for joining us. This is the last show of the semester, correct?
Yep.
Correct. Okay, again, this is what happens when you have an alumni hosting the show. Last show of the semester. We're so thankful for all the viewers who have been tuning in. Over the school year, we'll be back in the fall. Well, I won't, but they'll be back in the fall with all the great lineup of shows. So make sure you're following at TSTV Sports on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook to keep in touch on everything going on at the show. So for everyone here in studio and Master Control, Robert Trevino, John Kelley, CC Rodriguez, Samantha Pearl, Adam Ogburn producing, and he was on earlier. I'm Thomas Fitch. Y'all have a great rest of your day and a great summer.